Hey PT on Ice listeners, this is Alex from Jane. If you're new to Jane, no sweat. Jane is an all-in-one practice management software designed to be helpful to you no matter how or where you practice. Now, you might be wondering what that looks like in a software. Well, with Jane, it looks like online booking that makes it easy for your clients to book an appointment with you, administrative scheduling that's intuitive and beautifully designed, and charting that's quick and, dare we say, enjoyable to use. Come see for yourself. You can book a demo with a member of our support team at jane.app/physicaltherapy. If you're ready to get started, just mention ICE Physio in your sign-up notes for a 1-month grace period. We'll talk to you later.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Julie Brower, and I am a TA for the Older Adult Division, and that is alongside our lead faculty, Christina Previtt and Dustin Jones. So it's Wednesday, meaning it's Jerry on Ice Day. So let's talk about some courses coming up. March 2nd is our next online cohort. And in terms of on the road, you guys, we are all over the freaking country. It's wild. The MMOA crew is going on tour. We have courses all over. We're running simultaneous weekends across the country. So go ahead and hop on to ptonice.com and you can find out if we are going to have a course that's near you. If any of you are going to CSM this weekend, Dustin and Christina are going to be there. So make sure that you go check out their talk there. Okay, so our topic today, reframing the sick patient. The sick patient who won't ever make it to fitness. So initially I was going to talk to you guys about this patient that is a stroke survivor. Her name's Wakila. I was treating her in home health, and instead of restarting her for another home health certification to treat, I discharged her, and I discharged her to a CrossFit gym. She is absolutely crushing it. Her story has been featured on CrossFit Health. It's absolutely amazing. And I do want to share that story with you because it's awesome. But I then realized, that's the fairy tale. That is the most ideal situation, right? And unfortunately, a lot of the clinicians out there, a lot of our patients, a lot of you who are listening right now live in a reality where despite a perfectly crafted fitness forward approach, despite the fact that you put your blood, sweat, and tears into trying to change your patient's trajectory, many of them are not going to make it to fitness. And why? Because there's so many barriers when it comes to sick patients, right? Decades and decades of chronic disease that has built up. Their cardiorespiratory systems are just so deconditioned that we can't get ahead of it. We're not really going to increase their activity tolerance. The end-stage renal disease patient who has this severe muscle wasting that we just can't get ahead of, and we're not going to be able to move them from being mostly wheelchair bound. We can have barriers due to caregivers, right? So we can have caregivers that are so wanting their loved one to get better and to walk again, but they are so limited because they don't have the physical capabilities or the mental capabilities, or they have to work and they just don't have the time and the resources. We can have barriers because of just lifestyle factors, right? So I'm thinking about the patient who has diabetes, and despite the fact that they're blind from diabetic retinopathy and they have multiple amputations, you're gonna walk in the door and they're cooking fried chicken and they have a liter of soda in their hand. And it's really, really tough. There are so many situations where we are just not going to be able to have a significant impact in reversing our patients' sickness. There are so many of our patients who are never going to walk into a CrossFit gym. Let's just be honest. I mean, so many of our patients are never going to become non-homebound. They may never even make it to seeing outside and seeing the sunlight more than when they have to go to a doctor's appointment. And guys, like this is coming from me, who, if you have been a part of the ICE community for a little while, and you kind of know my work within the MMOA crew, I mean, I am constantly on a mission to obliterate the excuse, my patient can't do that. In particular, my older adult patient can't do that. I'm on a mission every single day to act as boldly as possible to move my patients from sickness to wellness to fitness. And even within that, I am realizing that that's not going to be the outcome for many. And many of you clinicians out there, this can definitely leave us feeling frustrated, burnout. I think it could even lead to some resentment to our other colleagues who are doing this really cool deadlifts with patients and loading our older adults up with squats and doing these high level outcome measures and getting them up and off the floor. And it's just, working with sick folks is just so tough, especially when we're just spinning our wheels and seemingly can't move that needle. And as I've started with home health over the past, I haven't been doing it for even 6 months yet, but I've really, I kind of went in and I was like, I am going to get everyone into a CrossFit gym. Like, I am going to change everyone's lives and move them towards fitness. And I'm realizing that despite the best efforts, despite maximally setting these folks up for success, it may just not happen. So in order to change my attitude, because I was getting frustrated, and this is really tough for me to do day in and out, and I know it is for you guys too, I had to reframe this to the thought and the attitude of, how can I maximize the quality of my patients' lives within sickness? How can I maximize the quality of their life within sickness? Because what I've been realizing is that for a lot of my patients in home health, they just want to not go back into the hospital. They want to stay at home with their families. That's it. That's so important to them. Fitness may never be in the cards for them, but that is still incredibly meaningful to them. So, practically, how can we reframe this? I have started, number one, prioritizing decreasing sedentary behavior and managing chronic disease, layering in fitness. First, prioritizing decreasing sedentary behavior and managing chronic disease, layering in fitness. So what does that mean? So I would start off by going into these folks' homes, and I'm right away trying to get them to deadlift and using weights, from functional things around the home, and getting them squatting and making them breathe really heavy. And it's awesome, it's sexy, it's cool, it's fun. Yes, it's not that it's not important. However, if this is a patient who doesn't even have the self-efficacy or motivation to get themselves out of their recliner more than twice a day, or they don't even know how to take their own vitals or know to weigh themselves if they have CHF, maybe I'm not focusing on the right thing. They're one misstep from going back into the hospital. What is going to keep them out? Assisting in them developing habits and behaviors to manage their chronic disease and decrease sedentary behavior, which we know are two things that increase risk of rehospitalization, or coming in and just going after them with deadlifts and squats. Both are important, but I'm starting to reprioritize the former. So what does this look like with your patients, like very practically? So patient who has CHF, we know that daily weighing is very important. Logging weight and being able to track, did I have a weight increase of 3 pounds in a day or 5 pounds in a week? Is there increased edema in my lower extremities? This is a hallmark sign that maybe there's an exacerbation of CHF. We can catch it early. Critical for these folks. So what I've started to do is kind of habit stack this managing their chronic disease and decreasing sedentary behavior. And then I layer in fitness. So starting to encourage them to get into the habit of every single morning looking at their legs, looking for swelling, and then weighing themselves. So putting the scale out in the kitchen, which means they have to go out to step on it. So they're getting some movement right away. Having a piece of paper that is there for them to log their daily weight. And then on that same piece of paper, having a quote, like a little motivational note just saying, how many laps are we gonna walk today? Or I'll have check boxes that are open and they then have to put a check mark in the box after they do X amount of laps. So I'm layering on managing chronic disease, and then I'm starting that habit forming of decreasing sedentary behavior. Then when I come to see them and I have them show me and go through that sequence, then I layer in fitness at the end. Then I do a little bit of a finisher. Put them through a 2-3 minute higher intensity workout, do some squats, do some deadlifts, get them feeling really, really good. But that's how I'm starting to structure my sessions. Because if we can get someone to habitually manage their disease, track their disease, be aware of those signs and symptoms, and decrease sedentary behavior, that is a win-win. We're going in the right direction. And then if I'm layering in fitness, it's a win-win-win. So how else can you do this? I mean, I have a patient who has diabetes. So what do we know is critical for them? Is checking their skin. He's really bad neuropathy. So I'm gonna want this patient to wake up in the morning and look at their skin. Patient loves smoothies, right? Trying to say, oh, well, it's healthy. It's a fruit smoothie. Okay, but we know how much sugar is in smoothies. So he likes to have his mid-morning smoothie. This is an individual, he loves jazz music. So we've created this routine of wake up, he checks his skin, he puts on a 2 to 3 minute jazz song, and he does musical chairs. So while he is listening to one of his favorite songs, I have challenged him with how many surfaces in your home can you get up and down from? So that includes any bed. He's doing supine, side lying to sit to stand. He's doing sit to stand on dining room chairs. He's doing it from the toilet. He's doing it from his couch. And within that time period, he marks down how many surfaces he got up and down from. He logs it in his book, and then he's ready to make his smoothie. And while he is going around doing this musical chairs activity, I'm talking to him about, hey, maybe instead of doing a full packet of fruit going in your smoothie, maybe you can cut that in half and replace it with some vegetables. And then his wife, while he's doing his exercise, has placed out vegetables and the fruit to go into the smoothie. So just another example, and there's so many examples here. I think probably Alex loves this topic too in terms of decreasing sedentary behavior. We could probably do a whole podcast in and of itself on this, but start trying to structure your sessions like this. Decrease sedentary behavior, manage chronic disease, then layer in your fitness. The second big point, last big point that I want to address in terms of why bringing that fitness forward approach and reframing it is still so important is that I have come to develop the attitude that I am sometimes bringing this fitness forward approach more for the caregiver versus the patient. Because what can happen, you guys, is that we may have these patients that are not going to extend beyond sickness. They may stay within sickness. Maybe they touch wellness. However, you start with that drop in the bucket of a fitness forward approach. That drop in the bucket can create a ripple effect to the family and caregivers, and that can seriously create waves. You're not only improving the quality of life of your patient within sickness, you are having this overflow effect to potentially changing the trajectories of family and caregivers who are not ridden with chronic disease, who still have a chance to change their outcome. They can move towards fitness. So to tell you guys just a story of how this has played out, I had a patient who she has dementia, and one day I worked with a caregiver on floor recovery. The patient would get out of bed and she would fall. And her daughter was just beside herself. I don't know how to help her get up. I don't think I'm competent. I don't know what to do. Can I take care of her? So we spent a whole session with the patient on the ground, figuring out cues, showing the daughter how to safely get her up and get her back into bed. I came back a couple weeks later. The daughter said, my mom fell. It took me an hour plus to get her back into the bed. She didn't follow any of the commands like we did before when you were here, but I did it. And that moment where she is saying, I did it, I was able to do it. And you know what? It was exhausting. My back hurts. It was so tough on me. I had to just not do anything for the rest of the day. This was so mentally exhausting for me to have my mom be on the floor and it take me an hour to do it. I need to go take care of myself. I gotta go take care of myself. I found this yoga studio, and I think mentally and physically I can get stronger there, and I can just have a place where I can zen out. I mean, do you guys see what's happening here is by bringing this fitness forward approach, I then had the effect on the caregiver that she needs to take better care of herself, mentally and physically. And that's so huge. Did I know as a fact that I'm not going to teach this patient with dementia? She's not going to remember how to ever get back up off the floor. I knew that, right? But I taught the daughter how to do it safely, and then that had an effect on her. And this probably has shown up in a bunch of different ways to you guys. I mean, there's probably so many of you. I've walked in and started working with patients, and the family members just say, you work out, right? Yeah, I used to look like that. I used to be fit like that. Or you are putting the patient through a 30-second chair rise test, and then you're talking to them about, based on age-matched norms, other people in the neighborhood who are living in the community like you, this is how they did. This is how many they got. This is how you stack up. Family members sitting there watching and saying, oh man, now I want to do that because I want to see where I stack up. This is how this can go. You can start having this massive ripple effect on caregivers and family. When you are creating workouts for patients, putting them through an EMOM, putting them through a little circuit, then, the caregiver's watching and they're like, man, they haven't worked that hard or worked out like that in years. I want to do it with them. It's amazing. Even with the patient who's not going to make it out of sickness, we can have this amazing ripple effect to caregivers and family. And we can be down the road preventing them from ever getting into a situation where they're not going to be able to get out of sickness. Okay, that's all I got for you guys today. So big takeaways here. Reframe the way you think about sick patients. 1, prioritize decreasing sedentary behavior and managing chronic disease. Then layer in your fitness. And 2, think, I may be doing this for the caregivers. How many of these family members can I inspire to take control of their health? All right, guys, as always, feel free to reach out, message, comment. Would love to hear your thoughts or your experiences with this. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.